Hey VC, TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report with part 3 of my 2022 rewind. I was going to talk about my favorite songs this year and some of the downloads, but actually I changed my mind about that. I want to talk about the VC and what it means to me, because tomorrow I'm going to skewer people in the VC with my trends thing. But and it's all going to be in good fun, of course, but um, I had been out of vinyl for the better part of 20 years. Um, Back in, well, vinyl itself, I'd been out of since 93, 92, when I wasn't able to get it anymore. I now was into CDs. But I even got out of CDs for the most part in around 2000. Around 2000, something happened to me. I was working for one of the world's first internet radio stations. There were four biggies when it first started. There was Net Radio, Spinner.com. Um, I'm losing the third one is eluding me, and the fourth one was discjockey.com. I worked for the latter. I was originally director of programming, and then later on I became director of specialty and retro programming when my boss, the late great Rich Chadwick, decided that he wanted to have somebody that could step into Barry Scott's shoes when Barry Scott left after working for us for about 6 months, and asked me to do it. And I said, sure, I love doing the 70s and 80s stuff, absolutely. So it was a lot of fun. But in all honesty, I lost interest in current music for about 10 years, except for the acts I liked. I enjoyed Bowling for Soup. I enjoyed Hanson. I enjoyed, you know, odd, here and there, I enjoyed the odd group. And I stopped buying most of my stuff on, I would go in and get CDs every now and then. There would be two or three that would come out that I'd like to have. Um, I went shopping. I mean, I would go in expecting to get 7 or 8 CDs and only come out with four because the prices were through the roof at that time. Stuff I had gotten to be a fan of in the 90s, like Kenny Wayne Shepherd or Johnny Lang, or again, Bowling for Soup, or one of those. But for the most part, I kind of fell out of popular music, and the reason was I quit listening to the radio. Radio was abysmal from the time Clear Channel started buying everything up. You went from all of these great personality stations with great jocks to these repeater stations that played the same 8 songs over and over again with an occasional, secondary song, and syndicated disc jockeys that were out of, wherever. They tracked it and sent it via satellite or landline to your local station. And they're just, for a guy who's been into radio since I don't know, this big, it just wasn't fun anymore. I'm really sorry, my hair is just not cooperating tonight. Um, the I just lost interest in a lot of it. I never missed the Grammy Awards or the American Music Awards or even, Oscars, Tonys, People's Choice. Never missed them. Watched them every year until the 90s, and then I stopped watching them. And quite honestly, I don't care about them anymore. A lot of crap wins. A lot of what I love never gets acknowledged, and I don't really care anymore. Gotten to the point where, you know, the Teen Choice Awards, which give the big surfboards, have come close a few times to what I like, but still not a lot of it. And I have such a variety of tastes that things are a bit different where it comes to listenability. Now, I had ripped all my CDs, so I had them all on the computer and I could listen to them. But I never listened to my albums, even though I had, working stuff for 20 years. Now I do again. I'm listening again. Have the turntable right here. I'm going to be digitizing all the albums and 45s I have. I'm enjoying it again. I found life again. I started to find life again in 2010 when decided I wanted to get back into things. And I did for the most part. I had a chart. My Kirkham Report chart came back for almost a year in 2010. Discovered a lot of acts that I remain fans of. Jason Derulo, The Ready Set / Only Child, a whole bunch of other ones. And I'd stuck with them, and I continue to follow their careers and continue to enjoy what they do. And also, about halfway through the decade, I got involved with America's Got Talent, started discovering acts I really liked there. I never really followed American Idol, although I did check out the winners every year, the same as I do now and as I do with The Voice. But the only talent show I got into was America's Got Talent. Never liked any of the other ones. And as a result, out of that show and my love for it came loyal fans from me for some of the people I've talked about on artists you should know: Jacob Velasquez, Dylan Zangwill, Benicio Bryant, Grace Vanderwall, all part of AGT. Emil and Daryl Rock-Shallows, they'll be back for the All-Star Champions edition starting next week, I think it is. They were terrific. I love all that stuff. 2018 saw me get back in again. Made an attempt to really get back in and kept getting blocked on YouTube. And so I said, screw it, I'm not going to bother. But what really sparked me at that time was the fact that I'd fallen head over heels with Eurovision. And I continue to be a big Eurovision fan, as you guys all well know. In 2020, during the pandemic, I started thinking about redoing this damn office, which is still not completely done. And I started looking for CD drawers. I don't use jewel cases anymore. They're all in envelopes and I filed them. But I wanted to get a set of drawers to do that with. And I started looking around the net and started looking around YouTube. And I found Frank Landry over at Channel 33 RPM and watched a couple of his shows. And I sent him an email. I said, Frank, listen, I'm new. I'm just finding you. I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing and looking for CD drawers. Have you guys heard of it? Have you heard of them in Canada? Do you know if they have them here in the States? He wrote back a very kind reply and said he wasn't aware of anything like that, but that he was glad that I was back in and getting interested in music again. And I continue to be a loyal fan of Frank's to this day. After watching that, I started searching around the internet and started hearing about this thing called the vinyl community. And, I started watching 2 or 3 people at the beginning. The first person that caught my eye was Miss 80s, Beth, who was on her earlier channel. She turned me into Value Vinyl, which is Steve. And then they all turned me into Steve Carlson. And by that point, I had found a few other people on my own, Chris Prophy and Adam at Record Crate. And through Adam, I found Dawn and Mary at Two Hip Chicks. And I just haven't looked back. I have close to 400 subscriptions. And while I don't get a chance to watch everything, I do check a lot of them religiously. I don't always comment. I'm just as bad as everybody else. I don't always comment. I try to put in at least a line or two if I really enjoy something, if I watch something. But there are people that I will watch the second they come on. Steve at Value Vinyl, Jeff at Calico Silver, quite a few other ones, actually. Don't want to name them all here, but quite a few others. And I started finding my love for music again and started finding my love for vinyl again. My collection was 600 and something of albums. And, probably 2,500 45s when I started. The albums have more than doubled. I now have over 1,500 of them, and 45s are coming close to doubling also, all in just 2.5 years. That's freaking scary, the amount of money I've spent on that stuff the last couple of years. Another reason I got back into it was I lost my mother in 2018. She was a big fan of music and instilled a lot of that in me. I've talked about that on my various shows, influencers in particular. I did a whole episode about it. And it was fun. And losing her made me reconnect with some of the other stuff, and that's what led me to start again in 2018. Now, the VC took me a couple months to jump into it. Rachel, Music Ma'am Rachel of Rachel's Ghost, was there from the beginning, encouraging me, as were others. And so I jumped in with both feet. And as if you haven't guessed, I haven't looked back since. I can be loudmouth, opinionated, pushy, and everything else. And yet people still take the time to comment and be kind and friendly. I had over 100 entries to my contest earlier this year, which shot my numbers into the 400s from less than 200. And I made a lot of new friends from that contest. Just off the top of my head, I think I've connected well with Vinyl Richie and Garage Geek and Robscure Music and a few other people, quite a bit. It's just fun to be a part of the VC. Now, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I'll look at something and say, damn, why didn't I think of that? Or, damn, what are they doing? That looks like something I was going to do, you know? That's because we all think alike. The big difference between the vinyl community in general and me is my taste in music. One thing I have found about the vinyl community over the last 2.5 years is that most of the people I've discovered are heavy into what we'll call classic rock. And I include in that stuff from the 80s back. I enjoy 80s, metal and stuff too. But a lot of people here in the vinyl community, even the young ones, Dylan over at the Record Spinner, big Kiss fans. And Dylan's like 24, I think, and he's been into it for most of his life. And there's all these great, acts that people love. I think it appalls people to find out that I'm not the huge Beatles fan that everybody is. I enjoy their music. I enjoy the Stones and the other classic 60s rock acts, but I'm not a fanatic for it. And it's because my time was the 70s more than the 60s. I'm a pop person. And people are mystified by that in so many ways. I've found connections with people who have just as eclectic stuff as I do. People like Steve at Value Vinyl and Garage Geek and a few others out there, a few select others out there who have a lot of everything. I love pop music. I love teen idols. I love new age. I love smooth jazz. I love good scores. But I love my share of heavy metal and grunge too. Some alternative, but mostly I'm a pop guy. And people are mystified by that, I think. Because they're like, oh, he's listening to Carpenters. Wow, that's not my style. Yeah, because they're too square for people who normally listen to Cream or Traffic or prog rock or any of that stuff. That's fine. That's what makes the vinyl community what it is. It is so much fun to be a part of this community. This year, I held a contest, as I said, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow too. And that contest, I had 200 plus subscriptions come from it and over 100 entries. And I got a little emotional because I've always want to be able to grow my channel. And I enjoyed doing that contest. I enjoyed watching every damn one of those Obscuria-oriented videos that came in. I met so many new people from it. I had so many things written down that I want to check out now. I'm mystified as to why 3 or 4 people have Leif Garrett fan club records. Vinyl Richie, I'm looking at you. Man, that is weird for you. But it's fun, and I don't have any of those. I probably would grab them if I saw them because I'm a big fan of Leif Garrett. So again, pop, teen idols, that's me. I'm approaching my big 60, my next birthday, and I don't feel like it. I feel like I have a new renaissance in my life, and it's mostly thanks to the fact that music helps keep me young in the mind and the body. A lot of what I've stressed over the last year on artists you should know are digital artists. Artists, some of whom do put out physical media. There is physical media out for Daddy Freyer. There is physical media out there for Grace Vanderwall and Sawyer Fredericks. Um, but most of them are right now strictly digital. You can stream them, you can download them. Maybe if you're lucky, you can order vinyl or a CD from Bandcamp, which I've done with Michael Christensen and Michael Whalen, who have become two of my favorite artists of all time this year. I was into Michael Whalen before, but not as much as I am now. I have found that streaming has widened my horizons also as a listener. I've been a member of Spotify for over a decade. I've been a premium member of Spotify for over a decade. And I frequently go on there trying to find new stuff. And it has led me to Chris Ferris and Josh Vietti and so many people I listen to now. It has helped me discover the rest of the catalog of Joe Satriani, where I only had like one or two albums before that, and I have become an enormous fan. It helps me catch up with some of the stuff I've missed. I realized this year that I'm missing the last 7 Richard Marx albums, which I should go TC, naughty boy, because I'm a huge Richard Marx fan. Didn't know he'd been recording that much. I um, I enjoy getting to hear new versions of all these alternates and stuff too, which I've purchased quite a bit on Record Store Day, but not everything. But I'll hear them on Spotify and go, I need to grab that when I get a chance because it's really good. And like you, I do enjoy owning the physical media, but if I own it on the drive, that's also important to me. I don't like to have to depend on streaming, just like I don't like to have to depend on streaming television. I want the DVDs. I have a great movie that came out. Well, it was on the festival circuit in 2019. It finally came out in early 2022. A movie called Worm, that is a surreal dystopian comedy with a young actor I think the world of. His name is Theo Taplitz, and he is also a musician. I've had contact with him. He was Rising Star, number one male Rising Star on Subject Cinema in 2016 for his performance as Jake in the wonderful and very little seen indie film Little Men. Um, I would love to have that on DVD. I think it's a great movie. I got to see it last year when it played at the Seattle Festival and they did it online. And no, they're not going to release a DVD. It's streaming only or digital only. And I don't want to own digital movies because if they go out of business, then you lose them. I won't do that. I want the DVD. So if it ever comes out on DVD, I will get it. Um, I'm that way. I do agree with the physical media, but digital media is physical. You own it, you have a copy of it. And so that's why I have fallen for so many digital artists. I can download them, I can listen to them at my discretion. I can pitch them to everybody in the vinyl community, which I have been continually doing for 2.5 years. And I can make it work. I can bring back artists too. The discovery this summer that Allie Thompson was back put my heart a flutter. I was a huge fan of his first 2 albums, Take a Little Rhythm and Deception is an Art, which came out in 80 and 81 respectively, and then they just disappeared. And to find out that he was back as of 2018 and a new album was coming out this last summer, which is an awesome album. I talked about it last night. Um, that made my heart just soar. I love it when I find things like that. I would never know that without the vinyl community or without my interest in music. It's an important thing to be happy. And music helps make people happy. My favorite quote, as you guys well know, music is the glue of the world, Mark. It holds it all together. Without it, life would be meaningless. Eddie, Empire Records, another favorite movie of mine. There is so much truth in that statement. It's scary. And I brought this up. This is not terribly dissimilar to what I did for Robert Z's Lottery this year, but I'm focusing mostly on this year. And that's what I do. I discover things. I love it when I make an interesting discovery. One of the things that you guys know about me, and some people I've brought up and the shirts bring up, is that I'm a big professional wrestling fan. I didn't like it until I was 30. My wife has been into it since she was a kid. She's the one that got me into it. I was one of those wrestling is fake people in the 80s. I didn't have no problem. Now I get it, and I've been writing for wrestling sheets online for 20 plus years, and I enjoy it, and I watch it. And I love it when I discover the wrestlers have other interests. So many of them are musicians, good musicians, that it's scary. The band, I'll get it wrong, so I'm not going to bring it up. There's a band on, because I think it's called The Last Crusade, that's fronted by Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, and you can find their stuff, download their tracks or order a CD on Bandcamp, which is great metal stuff from the classic. It was recorded in the mid 2000s, but it has a very 80s 90s metal feel to it, and it is fantastic. I also made the discovery that under his real name, Marcos Mezzos, wrestler Dante Leon is the lead singer of Texas-based band Coronet. And he's a screamcore guy. And you see this guy with the flowing, colorful blue and green and yellow hair out there, and watch him doing some of this crazy moves in the indies and in Japan. And then you turn around and watch him on one of their music videos where he's doing all this. It's hilarious, but he's damn good at it. And I love the music as a result. I played one of Coronet's songs on Discover the Music a couple weeks ago. You should check it out. Overall, 2022 has been an adventure of discovery, music-wise and VC-wise. I've discovered so many new people, discovered so much more new music, and over the next year, I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to continue to do what I do always. I think this rant is over. I just wanted to talk about how I perceive this year in music as me, rather than pick out particular songs. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about some trends in the vinyl community, and I'm going to do some loving poking at some people just for the hell of it. And please know I mean it all in jest, but it is out there, and you'll see the points I'm going to make. And Friday we'll have a tribute to all those we've lost this year. There have been too many, and I'm not going to get them all, as I said last night. And I hope it'll be ready for Friday, because I may not. It's so large. I'm hoping to have time to do it tomorrow so I can get it done and have it up on Friday. And I still need to rank this, which still hasn't shown up this week, even though it's done and I just need to edit it. But when you work full time, it's hard to do that. Saturday, Kirkham Report, and Sunday, Radio Retro will be up regularly. Next week will be a week off from my shows, except for Obscuria. And then the following Saturday, I will kick off my January season of the Kirkham Report, Retro Radio, and a bunch of other shows coming the following week. I'll have that more in the schedule, as you can see at the end of the show. Until tomorrow, and my look at this year's trends in the VC, I'm TC Kirkham. Thank you for watching me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for becoming friends with me. I really appreciate that. Thank you for accepting me, and I really appreciate that. Ciao, baby.